So one of the reasons why you're brave is that Harvey Weinstein went to great lengths to keep this story under wraps.
Yeah.
He hired Israeli spies to follow you and other reporters around. That's insane. Can you tell us about what that was like?
That is
obviously
insane.
Trying to pressure you not to finish the story.
I mean, look, I'm very careful when I tell this story to not do it in a way that's woe is me. I'm not a journalist in Pakistan or in Russia or any of the places where you just wind up dead if you go up against power. But it is true that even in this country, there are crazy, exotic, cloak and dagger tactics that get thrown at you if you go up against the wrong interests. In this case, Harvey Weinstein did, as you said, hire an Israeli private intelligence firm called Black Cube. They sent agents using false identities, posing as sources, posing as activists, trying to get to me and sources and wheedle out information and create secret recordings of us. They sent subcontractors to Russian guys who are big characters in the book and the plot that unfolds in it to stake me out and chase me. And here's the thing, on the one hand...
You can't make this up. No.
You can't make it up, and people keep saying now that they're reading it, like, oh, it's like a spy thriller, and it's easy to be glib about that, but those tactics should stay in spy thrillers. They should not be directed at journalists in this country where we have the First Amendment.
Well, you also write, and the book, by the way, is fantastic.
Thank you, Sonia.
It is fantastic.
Thank
I have
you.
to say that. That Weinstein hired these secret operatives. They posed as victims or sympathetic reporters to trick accusers into trusting them. And one of their big targets was Rose McGowan.
Rose McGowan, I think people will be outraged when they learn the full extent of what she went through. There was a secret undercover operative secretly recording her who infiltrated her life to the point where she thought they were close friends. And she said at one point, I can't trust anyone in the world but you, Diana, whose name was not Diana, who was working for this Israeli spy firm and passing recordings back to her alleged rapist.
Oh my God.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Reporters and victims were so afraid to cross Weinstein. You called a producer at one point, and the advice they gave you was to get a gun. Were there nights you went to bed and thought, is this worth it? Is living like this worth getting the truth out there?
Well, here again, you know, we all are in this profession and we're not the story, ideally, right? We're talking about the story, and it's very awkward, and I talk in the book about my struggle where I didn't want to talk about this part of it because I wanted the focus to be on the sources who were so brave, and correctly we kept the focus on them for a long time. But as I learned that there was a whole community of reporters that were intimidated in this way, and as we enter this moment where the press is so embattled and so important to holding the powerful accountable in this country, I realized that's important to talk about. And yes, I was told to get a gun by several sources. I did move out of my home. I'll let what I say in the book stand. I did a little target practice, and I'm fine. I'm not that great a shot. But, you know, I moved out, and I was scared, and my mom was scared for me, and that's not as bad as it can get for reporters.
Are you still scared?
But it's, you know, I face a lot of intimidation. You see how smear campaigns rev up in a very personal way every time I break a big, tough story. But I have been so grateful that the public has rallied around this kind of reporting. I think just as sources are brave and they keep coming forward and saying enough, the public is saying enough at this point.
Well, one thing that I just thought was horrible, that Harvey Weinstein did bring your sister, Dylan, into it.
Yes.
I thought that was beyond the pale, but he argued, Weinstein called your estranged father, Woody Allen. He also tried to argue that the situation with your sister Dylan Farrow, who's accused Woody of molesting her, though Woody maintains his innocence, meant that you had an agenda. And he says to you on the phone, you couldn't save someone you love, and now you think you can save everyone.
Look, when I do these stories, sometimes there is a very below-the-belt personal attempt to weaponize things like this, including really painful things in my past. The book is very honest about the fact that my sister and the bravery she showed in sticking to her guns on this story year after year inspired me and helped me understand how important this issue was. And I wasn't always perfect. I was at times the guy in her life saying, why can't you just move on? Why can't you shut up? And the book unpacks how I evolved from that and came to understand how important what she was doing was.
Absolutely.